right, former Patriot Phillip Dorsett had some interesting quotes I want to read you here. He says, Andrew Luck had more talent than Tom Brady. Quote, Andrew was amazing, Dorsett said. This is via Patriots Wire. He says, I always say this to everybody, people who ask me, because they know I played with Tom. And they were like, dang, who's the best quarterback you ever played with? And I would say, to be honest with you, when it comes to talent, it's Andrew Luck for sure. So my first initial reaction to reading that, Adam, I really wasn't surprised. I thought I would be maybe like taken aback or offended, or especially right now, I am Mr. Prisoner of the Moment for all things, and I just watched the Brady retirement at Gillette and a Brady roast. And, I mean, I got Brady on the brain here. But, listen, I kind of get it. I think Andrew Luck, he was like created in a lab to be a quarterback. He is like literally the prototypical, quintessential, damn near perfect quarterback prospect. And that was not Tom. Tom got it out of the mud, baby. He had to earn it. And that's why we love him. But, I mean, it's not shocking to hear this sentiment about Andrew Luck. How did it land with you? Because it didn't surprise me.
I was surprised Phillip Dorsett was still in the league, to be honest with you, Trev. I was like, Phillip Dorsett, when did he retire? Oh, he's still playing? Like, that was my legit reaction. No disrespect to Phillip Dorsett. I thought this guy retired years ago.
Yeah.
So that was number one. Number two, yeah, it doesn't surprise me because we've heard this before, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to Tom Brady and the quarterback comparisons, and Aaron Rodgers was always the guy that, hey, you know what? Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the NFL. And he's got all the talent. Look at his mobility. Look what he could do, right? And all those things. So I think, you know, it just depends on how you define the word talent, right? Is talent the whole package? Up here, right here, or is it just like the raw athletic ability, the ability to throw on the run on a dime, like again, like that's why guys get drafted. Like Andrew Luck was the number one overall pick, right? So it's just like that's why he got drafted number one overall, and Tom Brady didn't, because he didn't have those tools, that skill set, to talent evaluators. That's why Zach Wilson got drafted where he did, right? Because of that talent, right? So, right, the athleticism, all of those things. So, no, it doesn't surprise me. Yeah. But it's the same Andrew Luck who came into Foxboro twice during the playoffs and got his ass kicked by Tom Brady. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So I get it's more than just the quarterback, but at the same time, it's like, all right, well, what? Maybe your definition of talent isn't correct, right? Yeah. Like maybe you could say, you know what, Andrew Luck was a better athlete. You know, Andrew Luck had a stronger arm. Maybe you can pick it apart, but in terms of talent, there's just so much that goes into that word for me. Yeah, and I can't just agree. You know.
Yeah, I think it's a fair question that I don't really know the answer to. You know, the definition of talent, right? I think personally, I think talent, I would say talent are the skills or is the skill that you can see with your eye, and then intangibles are the skills that you can't see. So when you have a truly great all-time athlete, it's a combo of both, right? So you have enough talent, what we can see with our eyes, that's the measurables, your size, your speed, whatever, as it pertains to that sport. And then the intangibles, the things we can't see, that's the work ethic. How do you get along with your teammates and others, your coaches, things like that? Are you on time? Are you dialed in? Are you locked in? Those are things we can't necessarily see with the blind eye, but, you know, if it's in you and you have the combo of the two, well, now we're talking, right? Now we're cooking. Yeah. And that's why I think Andrew Luck had both, quite frankly. Tom Brady lacked in one more than the other, but he worked on what he lacked at, and that caught up to the intangible, and that's what we see. I mean, look, you can speak to this more than me. you played sports at a higher level than I did. I never went beyond a high school. But even my high school experience playing sports, I had guys on all the teams I played on. I played basketball, football, and lacrosse. And all three of those teams, there were guys who were skipping class, didn't get good grades, were getting in trouble, suspended, academic probation all the time, and they could come in and drop 30 on you any day, or in football, catch touchdowns, or in lacrosse, lay you out, score goals, whatever it was. I imagine you've encountered the same thing along your path. That's talent. But the intangible stuff is what will separate you and actually give you, I would say maybe, Adam, like staying power, right? Like so you don't fizzle out. You can be super talented and fizzle out. If you have the intangibles and the other things I talked about, I mean, you may have lasting power long enough to where maybe your talent can catch up to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Again, you've explained it in a way that definitely makes sense. I would want more from Phillip Dorsett. If I were doing that interview, I'd like, well, what do you mean by talent? Right?
Elaborate.
Do you mean athleticism? Do you mean, are you breaking down the physical attributes? Because Phillip Dorsett played with Andrew Luck towards the beginning of his career, where he was still learning the quarterback position. So maybe that's what he was talking about. Because I would say that some of those intangibles you're talking about, those intangibles evolve into talent, right? Because knowing and understanding the playbook is an intangible that becomes a talent. Reading defenses is an intangible that becomes a talent. Right. Thriving under pressure is an intangible that evolves into being a talent, right? And so, so I think it's a semantics, sort of conversation. But at the end of the day, I think I want more. I want to know more. I'm going to call Dorsett up right now. I want to get him on the pod and ask him what he means about that, because I'm not quite sure what he exactly meant.
That's fair. I tell you what I wanted more of. I wanted more Andrew Luck in the NFL, man. I was really to think about this now that we're talking about this can actually be therapeutic for me. I had a ticket, Adam. I'll never forget this. I had a ticket on the Indianapolis Colts to win the Super Bowl at like 15-1. Before Andrew Luck, the offseason where Andrew Luck said I'm going to retire, because remember he did it like kind of last second. And I was so angry at that time that I didn't care about Andrew Luck retire. I didn't care about the player. I was just mad that he was leaving, and I was stuck with this stupid ticket that would never cash without him. And now, reflecting back on it, that I'm calmed down and I'm in the city of champions here. I wish we had more Andrew Luck as a player, because he was just so fantastic, and he was in a wasteland too. I mean, the ownership there with the Colts, still there, by the way, they just did not build around him properly. He never had an offensive line. It's just a shame that we didn't get more Andrew Luck. I imagine you feel the same way.
I do, and I was thinking about it as you were talking. That could have been Tom Brady's next great rival.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it could have been, because that would have been perfect too, right? Because Peyton Manning, all those years in Indianapolis, and then Andrew Luck takes over, and it's sort of like, all right, Peyton couldn't get it done against Tom and Indy. Can Andrew Luck? And that would have been a cool storyline to follow, but it just didn't materialize. Peyton went to Denver and got his, and then Patrick Mahomes came up on the scene, and but it would have been cool to see Luck go against Mahomes, like all of those matchups that you could have seen, but it just didn't work out.
No, you're right. And the other thing too about Luck, he added a wrinkle. I guess, and now we see it with Mahomes, but he added a wrinkle that Manning didn't have, because Andrew Luck, now some of it was because he had to run for his life, but he could get out of that pocket. He could dip on you, man. And I always respected that about him, and thought, to your point, if we could have got Brady and Luck for a long time, that would have been a weapon that he possessed that he could have used against a Tom Brady, is his legs there.